Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Lily. I am so happy you're here with me. In today's video, I am going to do a smash type of a junk journaling in my 2025 junk journal. What that means is I'm going to flip through the pages and focus on the blank pages and then smash it with all of the bits and pieces, stickers, ephemera, random little junky bits that I have collected throughout the year. And I'm just going to smash them on those blank pages. I saw someone else do this. I wish I remembered who it was so I can give proper credit, but that inspired me to do that in my own journal, especially because I have come to the point where I am going to close out my 2025 journal and begin to focus on my 2025 holiday journal. And I thought this would be a great way to go back and fill in all of those blank pages with all of those fun things that I have collected throughout the year. I'm also going to do story time and share with you a spooky story about something that happened in the mid-90s, something that I witnessed, something that I experienced with Eddie and also with my two oldest daughters. It's kind of spooky. It scared the you-know-what out of us, and I'm going to share that with you today. By the way, have you noticed something? Have you noticed a new accessory? You guys, I just ran my very first half marathon, 13.1 miles, and I ran most of it. When I got to mile marker 11, I thought I was going to pass out. It took everything in me, all of that reserved energy to complete the finish line. And you know what was cool about that, about the last 2 miles? My son-in-law, who also ran the half marathon, was already at the finish line. He finished like in an hour and 39 minutes. He came back my last 2 miles and finished them with me. I finished in 3 hours and 28 seconds. I couldn't believe it. Not bad. Not bad for a 56-year-old woman who's done it for the very first time. And you know what? I want to do it again. It was incredible, an incredible experience. I won't bore you with all those details today. I know I've been talking about it for the past couple of months, but I will focus that story in a future video. But I just wanted to show you my medal. I'm so excited. Let me bring it up close. It was the Haunted Half in Provo, Utah, and this is the really cool medal that we received for participating. I'm super excited, and I'm so glad that I was able to experience my very first half marathon. Thank you to each and every one of you for all of your support and for your encouragement and all of your kind words as I was going through this training. I think you guys are awesome. Okay. Are you ready to get started so that we can smash the blank pages in my 2025 junk journal? Let's go! This is going to be so much fun. I will attempt to fill in as many of the blank pages in this journal as I can in this hour. I've already gone through all of my little junky things, the stuff that I have been collecting all year long. And I want to say it's about 99% of the things that I have been collecting, things that I've really wanted to use throughout the year that I just didn't get a chance to do it. I didn't begin to consistently journal in my junk journal until, what was it, maybe April or May, I can't remember, but I wasn't consistent at the beginning. And then once I started this Junk Journal with Me series, that's when everything began to roll along smoothly. It held me accountable to maintain that consistency. And now here we are with this chunky 2025 journal. You'll see how I like to use, well, if you've been following this series, I use a lot of different types of ephemera, and some of it is dimensional, which I don't mind. And that's what creates a lot of the bulk and makes it so chunky and gives it this huge alligator mouth. But you will see how I am just going to pull from all of the things that I have piled on the right-hand side. I have not planned for any of this. I will find the blank pages in my journal and then gather some of these little junky bits. And it's a bunch of random things. Some of it will be things from my travels, other things that I have doodled and drawn, scrap pieces of paper, pictures that I didn't get a chance to use in the previous junk journal with me sessions, and and some of it is also packaging. So just a bunch of random things, but also things that I want to use. My junk are things that I have carefully curated. So it's not just anything. All of the things that I have collected throughout the year have a meaning, and they remind me of something. Whether I made it, I purchased it, I was gifted, even new things that I discovered this year. I'm also going to use packaging, and you'll see as I continue throughout this hour, some of my favorite places that I've eaten, some of my favorite coffee shops, also new items that I've discovered. There are some little drink packets that I discovered, which I absolutely love. Also packaging from some of my favorite makeup, little things like that. Bits and pieces like this little bluey coin that my granddaughter left behind here at the house from a little board game. So just some of the most random things. I'm not going to focus too much on the things that I'm using as I am creating these layouts, but do know that I am creating these layouts or smashing the blank pages just kind of wild and free. There is no direction. I'm just kind of eyeing the things, all of the junky things on the right-hand side, and just grabbing them, and I'm going to smash them onto the pages. And I saw this being done on Instagram. So it was a reel that I saw, and I honestly can't remember who the creator was. I went back to try to find it, but this is not my idea. And Smash, do you guys remember the Smash books from maybe 10, 15 years ago? And I think this is where the idea came, where very similar to a glue book, and you just grab your things and you just start adding them to your pages. No rhyme or reason, but do know that everything that I'm using brings me joy, prompts a memory, something. I'm not going to do any writing on any of these pages. I may go back and fill in some of the blanks. I do know that I probably won't get to all of the blank pages today, but what I am going to do is try to go through all of the junky bits that I have already prepared for today's session. And there's a lot of things here on the right-hand side, and it's just an array of things. And you'll see how I'm just going to try to make them work together. It's going to be a lot of fun. Once I do a flip through, we'll be able to go through all of the pages, not just my Smash pages, but also the layouts that I've created this past year. I'm not going to do the flip through today. I will do that in the next few days because I am working on another video too. I've got a few videos coming up. It is still the beautiful fall season, and I've got some great videos, some fall themed videos coming up in the month of November, and then I'm going to go full force ahead, and then begin to focus on Christmas. But it's still fall, and so I still have tons of ideas for the fall season. So some of my favorite products. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. But I sure hope that this inspires you so that you can gather all of those things that you have been collecting and just add them to your junk journal. No rhyme or reason. This also can help create a background. Once you start gluing things down, then you can go back and maybe even add focal points or quotes or jot down in journal memories. Do you know what I mean? But I think this would be a great starting point to just start smashing and gluing things down onto your blank pages. If you are here for the first time, welcome. Earlier this year, I created a Junk Journal with Me series, and we are now getting to the end of my 2025 Junk Journal. I have had a lot of fun creating this. I appreciate you being here, and if this is the type of content that you like, I invite you to subscribe. I love doing the Junk Journal with Me sessions. I love repurposing trash. I also like doing trash to treasure. And my favorite thing to do is to work with junk mail envelopes and create art out of trashy envelopes. And also love making new junk journals and working with little golden books. I love doing all the things, all the things. And I've got tons of videos on my homepage if you'd like to sift through that. I would like to share a story with you since we are in the Halloween season. This is the last week of Halloween, and today is the 30th. And so I'm hoping to either upload the video today on October 30th or first thing in the morning on Halloween, October 31st. We'll see. We'll see. I have a whole list of things that I want to get done today. I'll start with my story. Many of you know that I moved out here to Utah in mid-1994. I've mentioned it in many videos, but I will briefly share how I ended up here, especially if you are here for the very first time. In the early 90s, I was in college, and I was looking to pursue a career in radio or in journalism, radio communications, radio announcing, radio DJ, that type of thing. And I was working in Los Angeles, and I was in college, and I was finding it really difficult in Los Angeles to break into the radio scene. And one of my professors suggested that I start in a small market. My parents had already moved out here in 1992. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll take advantage of that opportunity and come out here, give it a try, gain some really cool radio experience, hopefully break into the industry out here, and then move back to California with all of this, with all of this radio experience. That was my plan. And I came out here in mid-1994 to do exactly that. And it took me a while. I didn't get started. I had to familiarize myself with the area and network and all of those things. I did eventually work in radio. I did that for about 10 years. I worked as a Spanish radio announcer for a few different radio stations. I was also a journalist for a major, I was an entertainment editor for a major newspaper that was around in the late 90s. So I got to work in my dream job alongside working my real estate as well. Real estate has always been a part of my life, but I did work in radio. So there's a little bit about me and how I ended up here in northern Utah. I came out here alone with my two oldest daughters. I didn't have my youngest daughter. She was born here in Utah in 1995. So when I came out, I had my oldest daughter, Dero, who was about 5 years old. And then I had my youngest daughter, who was 3.5 years old. And I came out. Eddie didn't come out here with me. We were on a break when I came out. Plus, I was also looking, for a fresh start, something different. I just had a lot of dreams and goals, and I thought Utah would be a great opportunity. By the way, I have accomplished so many things living out here in Utah. Side note, not only did I work in my dream job in radio and as an entertainment editor, but I also got to own my own title insurance company here for a couple years. There have just been so many great opportunities. I've learned so many things living out here in Utah. And I know that these opportunities are available anywhere in the world. All you have to do is have a dream and then pursue it. But I've just had a lot of great opportunities living out here in Utah. That was my side note. In late 1994, Eddie came out to spend Thanksgiving with us. But then he went back, and I remember being crushed at that time because I was really hoping that he would come out here and stay. And then he surprised me and then moved back a couple weeks later. So he ended up with us in December of 1994, and he decided to come out here and give Utah a try with us. And so that is how we ended up here as a family here in late 1994. So we were always back and forth, okay, because we still had so many friends and family in California. It was really easy for us to go back and forth from LA to Utah. Sometimes we would just do it on a weekend, but we made so many trips back and forth when we first came out here when the girls were young. In early 1995, I don't have an exact date. I do remember, though, that my youngest daughter wasn't born yet. So that had to have been early 1995. There was this one time when we drove out to California and we spent a weekend out there. It wasn't until the way back. So we were driving on the I-15, which runs north from LA, from the LA area to out here to northern Utah. So we're on the I-15. We had already driven through California, and we had just passed Las Vegas. And we are now approaching Arizona. If you've ever driven the I-15 from Southern California up to northern Utah, you go from California through Vegas, Nevada, and then there is a small section of Arizona right through the Snake River. And we go through that beautiful canyon. It's maybe a 25 minute drive. And it's just beautiful to drive through that canyon. And then we end up in St. George, Utah. It is late at night. We had just passed Mesquite, Nevada, which is the town just before we get to that Nevada-Arizona border. And I must have fallen asleep because it was late at night. I had Duro and Devin in the back seat of our little car. We used to have a little Dodge Colt, this little two-door little Dodge Colt. And that car could barely go over 60 miles an hour. It was a very slow car, but it was a workhorse. We went back and forth in that little car. So I had my two little girls in the back seat. Eddie was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and I had fallen asleep. All of a sudden, I hear Eddie kind of nudge me, and he says, "Hey, wake up. I need you to check this out." Now, this is late at night. It was late at night, maybe midnight. And so he wakes me up and he says, "I need you to check this out. Wake up." Wakes me up and he says, "Look at those lights behind us." And so I had the visor. So I lowered the visor. So I didn't initially turn my head to see anything. I just lowered the visor so that I could use that mirror to see the lights behind me. Because if there was a vehicle driving right behind us with weird lights, I didn't want to make it obvious that I was like staring, right? I don't know. But I do remember lowering the visor, the sun visor, looking in the mirror, and then I could see these lights. So these lights were behind us, but there was a light. There were lights on the opposite end. There's a light on the right-hand side and the left-hand side, really wide spread apart. So it almost appeared that from a distance, it could have been two motorcycles driving on opposite ends of the freeway. But this is what was weird. They were really wide apart, and it looked as though they were off the freeway. Like that's how spread out these lights were. There was one single light to the far left and then another single light to the far right on the opposite side of the freeway. So there's these two lights. Is that making sense? Like the light, we were traveling north. So that light that we were seeing on the far left-hand side would have been driving against traffic. But it was so far out to the left that it was almost driving like outside of the shoulder of the freeway, really far apart. So Eddie says, isn't that weird? He says, those lights keep coming closer. They come in really close and then they spread out really far wide. He says, just keep an eye on those lights and you'll notice. So he's driving, trying to keep his eyes on the road. So now I'm really curious. So I turn my head and I look at the lights, and all of a sudden the lights went from being, those single lights went from being super wide apart across opposite ends of the freeway to now being super close. Do you know what I mean? It went from wide-eyed to cross-eyed. That's the visual I want you to see. Wide single lights across the freeway, and all of a sudden, those single lights are right next to each other. And they're at a distance, very far away. And we can see these lights doing this over and over, where they would merge and get really close together on the freeway. So now it appears that these lights behind us were driving in the middle of the freeway. And then all of a sudden, those lights would spread out and again be on opposite sides of the freeway. And it kept doing that for a while. Eddie had said that he'd been monitoring those lights for a while. And he was watching how they would go in and out from the freeway. It also seemed like there was no one else on the freeway. Now there is just so much traffic driving up and down that highway. But back in the mid-90s, not a lot of traffic, especially in the middle of the night. So Eddie had said that he had been watching these lights for a while. But once he saw that they were kind of going in and out, that's when he decided to wake me up so I could see the lights. All of a sudden, those lights are getting closer and closer in light speed. And we're going the speed limit. We can't go much faster because the car really didn't have any power, for speed. So maybe we were going, 65 miles an hour at most. And it struggled, the faster we went in our little car, it would start trembling. So we were just taking it easy, I'm sure, at about 65 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, we could see these lights begin to approach really fast. And then they'd go dark. It looked as though they were coming up really fast, really close, and then the lights would go dark. They would just shut off. And then we'd drive a little bit, we'd keep driving, and then the lights would reappear. But they would reappear in different areas of the highway, either centered, which appeared in the middle of the highway, or wide apart on opposite ends of the highway. And then sometimes they would be at a distance, and other times they would be much closer. And the lights would just go on and off. Being on the highway in the middle of the night, right between Mesquite, Nevada and Arizona, it was very dark. There is no street lighting. You are driving by moonlight and the stars, and then your own headlights. It is pitch black on the highway. And we're just watching these lights and we can't make out what it is. So we know it can't be a vehicle because of how it is spreading out on opposite ends of the freeway. It can't be a motorcycle either. And it's not making any sound at all. It is completely silent. You can't hear any engines revved up. We can't even, we thought, well, maybe it's an airplane, but the way that it was gliding, there was absolutely no sound. It was eerie, it was dark, and it was silent. And the only thing that we could hear is the hum of our own vehicle. So we're now fast approaching the entrance to the Arizona Canyon. We're now about to cross state line. And all of a sudden, we look back and the lights are coming at us in hyper speed. So I turn around and I see these lights getting closer and closer, and the closer they get, the brighter they are becoming, almost blinding. I'm now almost in the back seat, my eyes just glued on those lights that are fast approaching behind us. So fast that I'm telling Eddie and screaming, "You need to go faster. Go faster. Those lights are getting really close. I feel it's going to hit us from behind, whatever it is." And I'm shouting, "Go faster. Go faster." And I'm now behind because this fear came over me because those lights are coming so fast. My only thought at that moment was to protect the girls that are in the back seat and shield them from this light that is coming at us so fast. And Eddie is flooring it. And he says, "I'm going as fast as I can, but it's not going any faster." And I'm shouting, "Go faster." By now, I've woken up my daughters in the back seat. And Duro vaguely remembers me shouting. She was only 5 years old. She tells me that she can remember how I was screaming. And she remembers the lights, and she remembers how bright it was. It was so bright. It was like daylight. So the lights are coming at us, full speed ahead. They're still at a distance, but now I'm shouting because I can feel that they're coming up behind us. All of a sudden, the lights are right behind us. The light is beaming into the back window of our car, and I am shouting and I am screaming at the top of my lungs, and I'm now shielding my daughters from impact because I didn't know what was going to happen. The lights were so close that it blinded the back seat of our car. And I was just hovering and shielding the girls and screaming at Eddie for him to please go faster. And he's going as fast as he can. And we're now in the canyon where it is pitch black. There is no one else on the highway. No one in front of us, no one behind us, no one coming in the opposite direction. And Eddie is going as fast as he can, but he also has to be careful because the canyon is curved. There are curves in that canyon. It was so scary. How do you go as fast as you can with this, I'm going to call it a UFO? Unidentified flying object. We don't know what it was, coming at us, and trying to be careful, trying not to crash into the canyon or go off the cliff or off the canyon or into the mountain. It was so dark. And the lights are still. And now the lights are right on us. It felt as though there was a presence in the car with us. That light, whatever it was, one light, two lights, it had now combined into one bright light shining into the back seat of our car. While that is happening, I'm still screaming. I'm protecting the girls. I'm now holding them. I'm now in the back seat with them, shielding them, shouting at Eddie, panicking, screaming at the top of my lungs. And then all of a sudden, there is another vehicle. We want to say it was a big semi-truck that was coming in the opposite direction. As soon as that semi-truck approached us, the lights went black. The lights went out. And we couldn't see anything behind us. There was not a vehicle. There was not a helicopter, a jet, whatever. There was nothing behind us. The canyon road is very narrow. That truck was approaching on the opposite, coming in the opposite direction. And once it got closer, those lights behind us disappeared. As soon as that truck went past and we thought we were in the clear, my heart is racing. I'm gasping for air. I'm wondering what the F is going on. All of a sudden, the lights reappeared in the dark. We're still going as fast as we possibly can. And the lights appeared again, right behind us, without a sound. But something was coming after us. There was a rest area coming up. It was the Snake River rest area. I think it's closed now. It used to be like a rest area and also like a campground right in the Arizona Canyon. Eddie sees that rest area is coming up, and he's like, I'm going to pull into that rest area. We weren't sure. What if we're trapped in this rest area? What if there are no other vehicles in that rest area? And we've got this light thing behind us that's going to trap us in that rest area. But we had to think fast. We didn't know what to do. Do we keep driving solo in the canyon? Or do we pull into the rest area in hopes that there are other vehicles, other people in the rest area that can help us? We decided to drive into the rest area while these lights are behind us. As we're driving into the rest area, we could see at a distance that there are other vehicles in the rest area parking lot. And as we're getting closer into that parking lot, and of course we had to slow down, which was scary because this light is right on our tail. As soon as we pulled into that rest area, the light was gone. Whatever it was that was chasing us, that was following us, that was trying to intimidate us, had vanished, had completely disappeared. We stayed in that rest area because we felt safe in that rest area with the other drivers. We didn't see anybody else come in. We didn't see anybody else go out. And it was so silent. It was one of the scariest things I have ever experienced in my life. To this day, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it could have been because there was absolutely no sound, no trace of anything, no rumbling of any other engine of any kind. It just appeared and then instantly disappeared. It went from those lights beamed and created it so bright that it seemed like daylight, brighter than daylight. It was blinding. And in a split second, it was completely dark, pitch black. What was it? We were panicking. I was still trying to gasp for air, and I'm trying to be brave and protect the girls. Eddie was trying to get away from whatever that thing was. When I tell this story and Duro is there with me as I'm telling this story, I like, to hear what she remembers, her perspective. Not that I like to hear, her telling a scary story, but she is 38 years old. And she can still remember that night. She can remember her dad trying to drive as fast as he could. She remembers me screaming, jumping in the back seat, trying to protect them. I'm sure Eddie's version of the story may be a little bit different. This is my version of the story. We've talked about it so many times, and it's been a long time. We remember it a little bit different. It was very traumatic, very scary, and it was a long time before we drove through that canyon at night. We made sure that when we drove to California and then had to drive back to Utah, we calculated so that we would not be driving at night. A few years later, we discovered that rest area was closed. We don't know why. I didn't research why. I don't want to know why it was closed, but it was closed. It's not even there anymore. And every single time, the last time that I went on a road trip on the I-15 was in 2019. In fact, y'all are going to think I'm crazy, okay? But in 2019, I was still living in Los Angeles, and I made 8 road trips to Utah that year by myself. Solo road trips. But I would calculate, and I made sure that I wasn't driving through that canyon at night. And I would leave Los Angeles at 3 o'clock in the morning so that I would be passing Vegas at sunrise. So I'd be in Vegas by 7 a.m. and then driving through the Arizona Canyon, maybe an hour and a half later. So I made sure that I timed it right. Plus, 2019 compared to 1994, 95, there's so much more traffic now. So many more commuters going up and down the I-15. Not just commuters, but also lots of truck drivers. And I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid to drive during the day. Won't drive at night. You won't catch me driving through that canyon at night ever again. And every time I drive by, and this has now been, 30 years. And every time I drive past, Duro's not 38, she's 37. I just gave her an extra year. But every time I drive through the Arizona Canyon, it reminds me of that moment. Like I can't ever forget that eerie, spooky, scary moment. It's like scarred in my brain. And there was one time where I was sharing this story with one of my cousins. What year was it? Maybe about 10 years ago, I invited one of my cousins in California. So I lived in California from 2010 through 2000 through 2020. So I went back to California, to Los Angeles in 2010, and then came back to Utah in 2020. So about 10 years ago, I invited one of my cousins to come up to Utah with me for my granddaughter's first communion. And as we were driving through, I began to tell her the story. We're driving through the canyon, and I said, hey, I've got a story for you. So I'm telling her about this story, and she's obviously freaking out, but it's the middle of the day. It was May. I think it was May, because that's when the first communions are, May, right around Mother's Day. But it was really hot. It was really hot driving over here. So I'm telling her this story, and she's kind of freaking out about it, but it's in the middle of the day. Like I said, I won't ever drive through that canyon in the middle of the night ever again. And she can't believe, she's like, are you kidding me? That is absolutely insane. We came to Utah, spent a few days here, went back to California. A short time later, my cousin calls me and she says, hey, there's a movie that just came out, and there are people in this movie. I don't know if it was a movie or like a documentary. I don't know the name of the movie because, it was 10 years ago. I didn't research it for me to tell you what it is, but about 10 years ago, there was probably this documentary type film that she was telling me about, where people were sharing stories about similar instances, very similar to my story. She says, Lillian, the story that you shared with me was unbelievable. But this film came out, and there are other people out there telling the same story. She says, are you familiar with the film? I said, no, I'm not. She says, you should watch it. I said, I can't. I'm not going to watch. I wasn't interested. I'm still not interested in knowing what film that was. But if you're familiar with this film, where there are people talking about UFO sightings and these bright lights, they are specifically mentioning these crazy lights in the sky that are coming after their vehicles. If you know what this is, what film this is that took place in maybe Nevada, Arizona area, let me know in the comments if you know what film that is. I don't know if I want to research it. I don't know. A part of me is curious, but do I want to relive that experience? Do I want to hear other people's stories? Has this happened to other people? Well, if they made this film, I have to say yes. It's happened to other people. It freaked my cousin out. She couldn't believe it. First of all, like I mentioned, she couldn't believe my story. But then to hear it from other people in this film, it just blew her mind. And she can't remember I can't remember if she told me if they found out what it was. I don't know. I think it's because I didn't want to know. It was very scary. And I'm not a horror film type of person. When I was younger, I loved all of the horror films. All of those scary Halloween movies, Freddy Krueger, the Chainsaw movies, all of that. Friday the 13th, all of those. I lived for that when I was a teenager. I just loved it. My best friend and I would do haunted houses for Halloween. I love that. I even loved roller coasters, those scary, scary roller coasters. I was all into that. Well, ever since this happened to me in the Arizona Canyon, I have not been able to watch a scary movie. or even go into haunted house, really scary things like that. I can't do. I can't do it. When my kids were younger, we would have fun Halloween parties for them. We'd have music and food and games and dancing and prizes, all fun and games. We would do cheery Halloween parties. We would not do scary, haunted Halloween parties. I can't handle that. And so I think, I've been scarred because of that. So if you have ever heard of someone else telling or sharing a similar story about UFOs in the Arizona or Nevada Canyon, please let me know. I am the only person that I know that this has happened to in real life. I've not gone searching online to discover or find out if this has happened to anybody else. First of all, it scares the CRAP out of me just to think that maybe this has happened to other people. I don't want to relive that. Let me know if you have experienced anything similar. I know there is. What is that? Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. What is that area? Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Area 51? Is that what it's called? Could it have been that? I don't know. I don't want to know. But I do know what I saw. I do know what I experienced. And I will never, ever forget that scary moment. I don't ever want to relive that again. Back in the 80s, remember the phrase, beam me up, Scotty? Remember that? That's what I thought. I'm like, oh my gosh, whatever it is that's hovering over us in this bright light is about to suck us up into space. I really did. I truly believed that's what was going to happen. It was so scary. I don't ever wish anything scary like that to anyone. Very, very scary moment. Phew! Oh my gosh. I don't go camping for that reason anymore. We did do a few camping trips when the girls were younger. But I can't. Now, grown woman, I cannot see myself camping. I am terrified of bears, first of all. And there are bears out here in our mountains. And there have been bear sightings in the campgrounds that we've camped at, and in the American Fork Canyon, Timpanogos Canyon. I just can't unless I'm in I can't do camp tenting. Maybe a camp trailer, made of steel. Maybe I can do that. And I used to enjoy going trail hiking up in the canyon. I don't want to live in fear either. Do you know what I mean? Because there's just so much life to live. But I also don't want to put myself in situations, in questionable situations. So if I can avoid those things, then I will. Unless I'm in a large group. The last time we went hiking, it was just my sister and I. And it was kind of creeped me out a little bit. Before that, I had gone in a very large group to go hiking, and that was a lot of fun. But I don't want to live in fear. I want to keep enjoying my life, but you won't catch me driving at night. I don't even like driving at night now. Not so much because of fear and crazy lights, but also because I have a little bit of night blindness. Let me just justify it that way. Why don't you drive at night? Oh, night blindness. I have a little bit of that. But yeah. And what else was what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say The reason I brought camping up is because when the girls were little, we would read scary stories. We would tell scary stories around the campfire. I think that's just what everybody does. And there was this one story. Oh my gosh, what was it called? It was this creepy little. It was like a kid book with creepy stories. And there was one in there where someone had lost their thumb. Where's my thumb? Do you guys remember that story? Oh, I should have been better prepared and done a little bit of research. But, oh, that story to this day haunts my kids. They're like, oh, we hated that story, Mom, about the losing the thumb. And then, where is my thumb? Where is my thumb? My kids can't handle that story anymore. And they're all grown too. I won't do that to my grandkids. I won't scare them that way with scary stories. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so there it is. That is my spooky, scary story for you. I hope I didn't scare you too much. We are getting close to the end. Can you believe I have used almost every single bit of junk that is on the table? Look at all these little bits and pieces that are left over. And I will continue to use all of these bits and pieces and just stick them onto the pages. There are still several blank pages that I would like to go in and fill in. I'll go back and probably do some writing. If certain pages prompt me a memory as I'm going through them, I'll probably jot something down, tell brief stories of memories and, things like that. But I have really, really enjoyed working in this 2025 journal. Did you work on a journal? Are you still working on a journal? Are you new to junk journaling? I have a lot of videos where I show you how to make junk journals by repurposing or altering an existing book or making your own junk journal from scratch using cereal boxes or any type of sturdy packaging, and then papers, random papers, all kinds of different papers. As I have been junk journaling now for 10 years. And when I first started, I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I watched a lot of different people, a lot of great creators, and until I found something that worked for me. And I didn't discover what I liked overnight. It took several years for me to find a junk journal that I was comfortable with. My favorite type of junk journaling or junk journal is the ones I make by repurposing a cereal box, reinforcing with some cardstock, decorating the front cover, just like this one here. This is my favorite type of junk journaling. The other thing that I really like is using scrapbooking papers as my signature papers. When I first started making junk journals, I used vintage papers, lightweight papers. Some papers were even too fragile, very thin, very old. I would use like very thin, lightweight ledger papers, that type of vintage paper. It's really pretty. I love how they all turned out. But because of the way that I junk journal with a lot of photographs, a lot of embellishments, a lot of dimensional items, I prefer to have a heavier paper to journal on. So I use scrapbooking papers. I also use cardstock. So these are heavier weight scrapbooking papers. Those are my favorite to use. It adds a lot of, they're more resilient papers. They're very sturdy. That is just my personal opinion. It is what I like. And especially in this journal here, I don't do a lot of writing. So if I were to create a junk journal with lighter weight papers using vintage ledger papers, vintage note papers, I would probably lean towards more writing than embellishing. But through the years, I have become more of a scrapbooking type of junk journaler. I've mentioned many times before that I was a scrapbooker for 30 years, and I've taken a lot of those scrapbooking techniques and scrapbooking skills and ideas that I learned and applied them to my junk journaling. If you were a scrapbooker, or even if you are still a scrapbooker, you can incorporate all of those things that you do in scrapbooking and apply them into your junk journaling. What's fun about junk journaling is that there are no rules, and you can do whatever you want in your own style. If you are new to this, do not compare your journaling to anybody else. Journaling is is personal and unique to you. No two journalers are going to be the same. It's your personal interpretation. It is your own artistic way of expressing yourself, whether it's through writing, through drawing, painting, coloring, whatever it is that you do in your junk journal. In the beginning, I would have a lot of people comment and say, your pages are too busy. Where are you going to write? Junk journals are not just for writing. Journals in general are not just for writing. They're for you to express however it is that you like. If you enjoy writing, that's okay too. If your pages are too busy for writing, you can always write or journal on journaling cards or even tags and attach those to your layouts. I'm a maximalist when it comes to junk journaling. I'm sure you've been able to see that in my method today. I love all of the things. The goal right now is to just add all of these embellishments, go through all of these fun embellishments and just smash them onto the pages. That's today's goal. When I do the flip through, you'll be able to see how I like to fill in every single corner of my pages. And once I'm done adding my pictures, my ephemera, my stickers, all of those things, then I go back and I'll do little doodly lines. I'll add a border, I'll doodle some hearts, I'll draw in some florals just to fill in the blanks. I love a busy looking journal page. It is my favorite. I tried to be a minimalist and keep my layouts simple when I first started junk journaling, and I realized that that was not for me. I am all about the things. Side note, from watching all of the junky bits that I have used in my pages, can you tell what my favorite restaurant is? Just by looking at the screen right now. Can you tell what my favorite place to eat is? My junk journal is a reflection of my personality. Just by looking at all of the things I've collected, I'm sure you can tell where I like eating burgers, what type of vehicle I drive, what my favorite coffee places are, what my activities are, my family. This has been so much fun to create because it reflects who I am. And a part of me is in every single one of these pages in this junk journal. And that's what your journal should be. It should be an extension, a representation of who you are, what you like, what you enjoy. And that's what this is. It'll be so much fun to go through it and share every single page with you. If you have any questions about how to make your own junk journal, I'm happy to direct you to one of the videos that I have. If you want to make your own junk journal from a cereal box, I have videos for that. If you want to make a junk journal from a little golden book, I can show you how to make that. I also have a video where I show you how to make the easiest junk journal ever. The easiest. I will actually link that video for you up above, because for the easiest junk journal ever, all you need is an old magazine and a file folder. 2 things. You don't even have to sew or bind it. It is so easy, and I'm gonna link that video for you so that you can go and take a look. Some junk journals can be more complicated than others, but they're all fun. Every single junk journal that I have ever made has been so much fun. Oh my gosh, funny story, and I've mentioned this one in the past. The very first junk journal that I ever made had 6 signatures. 6 signatures. I don't do that anymore. My junk journals usually will have 1 or 2 signatures. I did recently make a few that had 3 signatures, but that was crazy. That was crazy. Usually 1 or 2 signatures, but the first one I made 10 years ago had 6 signatures. Isn't that nuts? And then right after that, I made my own planner. I want to say it was 2017. I made a planner, and that had 12 signatures. Oh my gosh. It turned out great. I used the planner maybe for 1 or 2 months, but it just, it wasn't like a working planner, but I was proud of what I had created. And so that's why I'm saying that when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing, and it took a few years for me to figure it out and find my mojo. And now it's one of my favorite things to do is to make junk journals, my personal junk journals, and then also junk journals that I have in my Etsy shop. It is my favorite thing to do. I do know that a lot of you like to purchase the junk journals that I have in my Etsy shop, and then you don't use them. You guys, they're meant to be used. So fill in those pages. Don't be afraid to glue things down, because at the end, when you get to flip through the pages, you're going to be so proud of your work. You are going to just love your creation. I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. I know it is long, but I enjoy hanging out with you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart that you like spending some time with me. Many of you have asked for long videos like this. Hopefully you were listening to me in the background, if not so much watching, and creating in your own junk journal or whatever crafty activity you were working on. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think about the spooky story. And if you have one to share with me, I'd love for you to share your story with me. Any questions about what you have seen in today's video, please let me know. I try to reply to all of your questions in your comments as soon as possible. Side note, these little packets right here are these little, it's a drink powder, and you just mix it with water. OMG, they are so stinking good, because they come in flavors that I grew up with. A lot of those Mexican flavors, cucumber, lime, watermelon, fresa, strawberry, all of those jugos that we grew up with in my Mexican family. Oh my gosh, so those are really good. And that's why I'm adding them in my journal, because I discovered them this year and I don't want to forget. Lots of random pictures too. It's so fun looking at the pages. I just love how it is all turning out. This has been so much fun. I think you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed to my channel. And if you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you love it, if you can share this with your family and friends, that would be fantastic. You guys take care, and happy Halloween to you and your friends and family. Take care. Bye.